Dan.
Oh, yes, good point. Yes, it's 15:15 today.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yes.
well,
Sorry
it was
about
6 o'clock on the email.
Yeah, no, it's got two. There was 2 times. There was one at 6 and one at 15:15. That's why I wrote back.
I was just about to give up and go and watch the telly.
The problem I have is that when you set up the Zoom, you can't do 15:15 or 15:45 the hour.
Oh, I see.
So you have to set it up for a little bit earlier, but still let everybody know the time that you want. So you can have on the hour, 1/2 the hour, or that's it. Very frustrating. So yes.
You know, just going back to the cinnamon, I mean, how much I've got the cassia cinnamon, and it's as hard as hell.
Yes,
I think it nearly broke my coffee grinder. But I mean, you should just only have a teaspoon a day, shouldn't you? Really?
Yes, a teaspoon is
teaspoon a day.
Yes,
that's fine.
Mm.
I must have written something down which said 100 milligrams, and I thought, God, I don't think I could eat 100 milligrams of cinnamon.
Well, that's what the supplement is from Lambert's. Yeah. But if you think a teaspoon in weight is 5 milligrams of cinnamon, you know, the actual thing, but the cinnamon in the capsule is specifically the cassia. But you won't, because they'll be able to process it so much more finely.
Of course they will, yeah. I have to say that the blender nearly takes my coffee grinder nearly takes so hard.
It is hard. I often find that I get little pieces of grit that I have to just sort of
and me.
How is everybody this evening though, heading up to this new moon?
Better than it was.
Better than you were, that's good.
I feel better now. You said it's to do with the eclipse with me, Susie, because I thought today I was going round the bend.
Well, we've got the eclipse coming up. The first one is the full moon when we next meet on the 18th.
Right.
That's the full moon eclipse, and then we've got a full solar eclipse on the, I think it's the 4th of December on the new moon.
Nice.
So because they are both full, they're not partial, that means that they're very closely aligned and it's a stronger effect.
Tell me about it.
Yes. And so also, of course, it's winter that we've got this total going on, which makes things tougher altogether anyway. I think we'd better just all hibernate, actually.
Well, I'll tell you one. Everywhere you go, people are coughing and sneezing everywhere.
Yes, it's absolutely really brought on some
full
acute.
Of cold. I mean, my niece has got it, the children have got it, you know.
Yes, there's a lot of acutes around at the moment. That's for sure.
It's reassuring to know it's the moon that's causing it, really, isn't it?
It's certainly a huge contributing factor for that. You see, I don't know if anybody has heard me say before, but ideally we're trying to create enough freedom of movement in the body, enough fluidity of everything, that our wastes can move and leave through the normal routes of elimination. And so that means that anytime we come to a full moon or a new moon, and it being eclipsed or not, we can actually respond to it by keeping that waste freely moving and out of the body. But if we get to one of these events, these natural events, which are what are the triggers, and we can't quite shift all of the wastes, then that is what is going to create that clearing. And the other thing to think about, of course, is that the damage that the electromagnetic frequencies are doing to the nervous system, and that is what is contributing to things like flu and colds. So viral activity is your body's own repair mechanism for that. And as your body, you know, produces those RNA viruses that go messenger into the other cells and teach them how to repair, it's the wastes that are created from that that create the symptoms of flu. So it's no wonder when you think about the lack of freedom of movement we've got when it's so dark and cold, anyway, makes it much more difficult. And then on top of that, we've got these eclipses, etc. That is what your body's struggling against, repairing the nervous system and all of the damaged cellular waste that has to be cleared. That's what clogs up the respiratory system and creates all the symptoms that people suffer. But, for example, if you want to, you know, put in things like zinc citrate and vitamin C, and also possibly consider NAC that I'm going to talk about next time, N-acetylcysteine. Each of those things will help nervous system repair. And so that's what's needed, and that's how it reduces the respiratory symptoms. But I'll go into that a bit more next time. Now, this session is quite tricky because I'm going to just talk about how, you know, how we make glutathione, or one of the ways that we make glutathione, and what it does or how helpful it is. And then next time we'll have a look about what you can do about that, if that's okay. Has everybody heard of glutathione before?
No, never heard of it.
No.
Yeah.
Not sure I know how to spell it either.
Oh, Shelley, your mic's off.
Oh. Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Shirley.
Hi.
Have you? Were you going to say something?
Who are you talking to? I never talking to me.
Okay. So I don't know if you want to put your mic off while we do the recording, and then we'll do questions at the end. I think Deb was going to join us, and possibly someone else actually, but we're 6, aren't we? So yes, can't think who at the moment. We're missing. Definitely Deb was missing. Okay, I'll grab this screen. Right, so glutathione is called your so-called master antioxidant, or your super antioxidant, because of the repair that it carries out in the body, and its ability to donate electrons so that you you don't then have various substances oxidize and create free radicals. And it's found in every single cell in the body, but particularly absolutely masses in the liver and also the kidneys as well. So what does it do? Well, it's a so-called guardian of your cell, because it helps protect your mitochondria, your nucleus, and your DNA in your cells. So you can imagine if you've got any sort of immune system issue going on, that being able to produce that glutathione in the liver is going to be really important, because it's an antioxidant for every cell and for the rest of your body. Well, your cells are your body, what am I saying? It's anti-inflammatory for each cell and therefore the whole of your body. And it helps each and every cell detoxify and therefore the whole of your body, but enormously involved also in liver detoxification. And this is why it's so helpful. Now, if you can imagine, glutathione is naturally anti-aging. So that in itself reduces your risk of any chronic disease. It helps improve your insulin sensitivity. So if you can imagine, that is a brilliant function in terms of helping improve your blood sugar control. So this is why, you know, it's so important, particularly to maintain healthy liver function and to, you know, do your best to support the liver in that. It also helps raise immunity, partly because it will help reduce free radicals, but because it is such an amazing antioxidant in terms of reducing oxidation of, you know, any foe. So then, I've already mentioned supporting liver function. Now, it's made of 3 amino acids. It's a 3-part protein or triple amino acid. This is a representation of it here with each of its elements, if you like. So the 3 proteins are glutamic acid, glycine and cysteine. Now, they are all non-essential amino acids. So, of course, you have to make those from your essential amino acids. And it takes a lot of work for your body to break it all down and build it all up and produce it. So it's quite hard work. Now, you may have a recollection of brimstone and treacle being recommended probably in the last, not the 20th century, but the 19th century, as a remedy for a lot of ailments and ills. And one of the reasons is that possibly that was so successful is that brimstone is actually a form of sulfur, and cysteine is really high in sulfur. And actually that's one of the reasons why the supplement N-acetylcysteine smells so eggy and disgusting, and it's because of the high sulfur. And you probably remember that from the chemistry labs, if ever anybody set off a stink bomb or anything when you were at school. Now, molasses is really high in B vitamins, and your B vitamins are, you know, the main things that help you break down and help you produce the enzymes to break down some of these proteins or amino acids into the right form, and particularly glutathione. And I'll come back to that in a minute. So what we have is methylation, and you probably have heard of methylation, but it's the way in which your body turns your food into you. So apparently we eat about 10 tons of food through our lifetime, and methylation is the means by which your body turns the food into the sea of chemicals that we are. So we're basically like a skin and hair covered bag of a salty soup, a bit like the sea really, concocted out of millions of chemicals, minerals, etc. So our glucose, fats, amino acids, hormones, neurotransmitters are just some of those chemicals. So if you think about when you want to go to sleep, your body will have had to make the chemical melatonin in order to help you sleep. If you're feeling stressed, your body will have had to produce adrenaline in order to meet the demands of the stress. And sometimes, unfortunately, more than meet the demands of the stress, which means that it overwires the body, and we then have to produce insulin, for example, to store away the sugar that has been overproduced by, over brought out from the liver by the adrenaline. And then if you think about when you've got a cold or a flu, your body goes on to mega drive and starts producing more glutathione to help your immune system combat the effects of the cold or the flu, etc. So methylation process. Now methyl groups, I'm going to mention a couple of them in a bit, are made up of 1 carbon and 3 hydrogen atoms. And what happens is that those are added to or subtracted from other molecules. And your body makes the substances it needs by transforming one of those biochemicals into another using these methyl groups that help to form a new biochemical, like glutathione, for example. And you can see how many carbon atoms and hydrogen atoms have been popped into that in order to make it. So it's got 10 of carbon in the end and 17 hydrogen. So I've already mentioned your non-essential amino acids. So you've got your glutamic acid, your glycine, and your cysteine, and your essential amino acids there. So some of them we obtain from what we eat, but the others we rely on our body to synthesize. But it's how they do that that can be problematic. And this is what can create some of the symptoms that people suffer acutely and chronically. The ability or non-ability to make those amino acids into the non-essential amino acids are so called, which obviously actually, when you think about them being called non-essential, goodness knows why, because 3 of them are needed to make this super antioxidant in your liver. So if you look at, for example, let's say that you eat a piece of fish for tea, and you get the essential amino acid methionine from that fish. Now what your body does is convert that into homocysteine. Now you may or may not have heard that homocysteine at high levels is far more dangerous than all of the cholesterol that they've been banging on about for years. Homocysteine is far more of a problem, far more likely to cause cardiovascular disease and a lot of other problems. So what should happen is that your homocysteine is converted either into SAMe, which is at the top of the chart here, or glutathione at the bottom of the chart here, and it needs a couple of enzymes in the process of converting it into each of those things. all of which have very long names, and the MTHFR is so long that I haven't even put it on the slide. But calling it MTHFR is quite sufficient. Now, what you'll notice, though, is how many of these breakdown processes, these enzymes, require B vitamins. So the first one from methyltransferase needs B9, B12, B2, and zinc. And then your MTHFR, for conversion to that, needs another chemical, trimethylglycine, and B12. And I'm going to come back to trimethylglycine in a minute, because there's a lovely food that you can include that will really make a difference to that. And so then you can convert that to SAMe, and SAMe is a really useful methyl donor. Sounds a friendly little soul, doesn't it? So then homocysteine can also be converted by the enzyme cystathionine beta synthase, but that needs B6, B2, and zinc for conversion. And then that gets converted by another enzyme, if you can make it, which needs B6, B2, and zinc, to cystathione lyase into glutathione. And then you've got your super antioxidant ready and raring to go. Now, there are other dynamics and functions going on there as well, but that's it broken down very, very simply. So then one of the most wonderful sources of trimethylglycine, which is also called betaine, is beetroot. And I don't know if you've heard in the news in maybe the last couple of years, but there's been quite a lot of research done on beetroot and how fabulous it is for heart health. And so from a perspective, if you speak, if you think about it from a herbal point of view or from a Chinese medicine point of view, it's always been known that beetroot is lovely for the blood, simply from the colour. But because trimethylglycine helps reduce homocysteine levels in the body, which can contribute to clogging of your arteries, it is absolutely fantastic for all of your vascular system. So I would suggest, particularly as it's a lovely winter vegetable, it's a lovely summer vegetable as well, really, but I would try and get some beetroot in on a regular basis. Absolutely amazing stuff. So then SAMe, S-adenosyl L-methionine, is another important methyl donor. So each of these are helping you methylate or break down other products in the body that are going to help you make all of the chemicals that you need to make in your body. Now, one of the important roles for SAMe is that it helps produce and break down your neurotransmitters. And so that is things like your serotonin for serenity, your dopamine for get up and go, your melatonin for sleep, your acetylcholine for memory, and more. And so, as you can imagine, a lack of SAMe is also associated with depression, because if you can't make your serotonin and you can't make your dopamine, then you are going to feel in a pretty low mood. And also SAMe generally helps liver function as well, so it can be associated with liver disorders. Now, homocysteine, if there's poor conversion to glutathione or SAMe, then that spells trouble for you. And so there's a greater risk for all of these conditions here: inflammatory bowel disorders, thyroid issues, cardiovascular disorders, stroke, cancer, diabetes, dementia, osteoporosis, menopausal problems, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, and all of the spectrum of that, post-viral syndrome, headaches and migraines, poor kidney function, stomach ulcers, inflammatory disorders like arthritis, eczema, asthma, and of course, cancers are also partly inflammatory. Now, if you happen to have a blood test, the units and I think it's millimole per litre, then levels over 15 in the blood are not good news, because there's a sign then that that inflammation is going to be able to take place. But on the other hand, if there are levels less than 5, there will be more difficulty for a person to actually be making glutathione, their super antioxidant. So, you do need some homocysteine. It's like, it's not all bad. Nothing is all bad, really. It's too much of it. And so in blood tests, they count an optimal result as anything from 0 to 14.5. But really, under 5, there's no ingredients there for making glutathione. So decreasing homocysteine and raising glutathione is the name of the game, because then you get to improve mood, memory with acetylcholine, mental clarity, you improve liver function, the hair, the skin and the nails are in better condition because of the nutrients that feed that, and also cysteine, it will be involved in that. The energy will increase because you're able to replenish your antioxidants better. Your sleep improves with the melatonin. Arthritic pain can reduce, and of course there's a reduced risk of chronic disease, and immunity improves, which is so important for this time of year, of course, because really it's our immune system that will be the first port of call for managing that nervous system repair if we get that RNA viral activity. Okay. Right, any questions?
Susie, I've got one, because you recommended the methyl factors for me with Cytoplan.
Yes.
So this relates to this, doesn't it? Because presumably it's the mix of the B vitamins that's going to... what's different about the methyl factors to the vitamin B anybody else can order? That's my question.
Yes, because if the B vitamins are methylated themselves, they're so much more easily absorbed as well.
Right.
Because you've some of the, folic acid is in particular is one, and actually what I've noticed, having gone back to Nutrigold and had another look at Supermag, is that they've caught up, which is that they now have a methylated form of B9, because their folic acid before was not methylated, and therefore that was not a good one to be taking. But they've obviously looked at the product, and they've methylated their Bs as well now. And I've kind of gone back to that a little bit in recent weeks, because it does have a really nice range of minerals in it as well, yeah. And the zinc in particular for the winter. So that's something that I'll be looking at next time with everybody, because so if you were going to order the methylated Bs, then hang fire a minute and we'll have a chat about Supermag next time.
You can only order the methylated ones if it's through a nutritionist.
That's right. Yeah. That's right, yes.
Supermag you can order. We can all order.
Now, Supermag, that doesn't actually apply. They don't apply that. No, there's no problem ordering that.
I didn't realise it was now different. It's a different company anyway, isn't it?
Yes, it's been taken over. Andrew Wren's gone, and so they've
Yeah.
obviously reviewed the product, which is great. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was his fault necessarily, but because I mean, he went a couple or more years ago, and I think awareness of this methylation of the bees has become more common in the last few years.
But why do Cytoplan not let people order methylated vitamin B? Because why is it got to be prescribed?
Yes, I think it's partly because of the levels of bees that they put in that particular product. Because they're a bit high, they're quite a bit higher than needed. So I think that's one of the main reasons.
Right.
Yeah, sorry.
I've always, I mean, I know about homocysteine, and I knew about it with my dad when he had his dementia, and I didn't realise this is the first time I've really looked at it like you've just shown us now. It's interesting.
It is quite, I think it's quite a complicated thing to get hold of, and that's why I thought it would be easier to do it in 2 stages, particularly, because it's the breakdown of it. You know, it's not just eating the oily fish. I mean, that's lovely because you've got the omega-3 then for the brain, but it's thinking about, well, what's happening with the amino acids then, because you know, it's so common with teenagers now, because they have diets that are very, very low in B vitamins because of all the white processed muck, you know, and lack of essential fats. But if you think about that from a perspective of learning, those B vitamins are hugely important, you know, in order to break down the homocysteine into glutathione, so that you can actually have a brain that is fresh with antioxidants to keep all of these neurotransmitters going. You know, having the want to learn, because of course some of them won't produce enough dopamine to even want to bother to learn. And then of course the omega-3 is so low. Yeah, really struggling.
Scary, isn't it?
It is, yes.
And every time they look at the television, there's doom and gloom. The world is coming to an end.
Absolutely, yes.
Awful, isn't it? What we're doing?
We're doomed. Aye.
We're doomed.
Yes.
Doomed. But I mean, it's real for children growing up. They're having it slammed at them all the time.
Yes, that's right. Yes, it's very disproportionate.
Terrible.
But thinking about it, you know, not just in young age, but as we get older, one of these things we're going to want to do is keep all of this cellular activity and the neurotransmitters fresh, you know, being able to remethylate so that we keep producing those neurotransmitters for memory.
Can you get a homocysteine blood test then? Do you have to do it privately?
I think generally in this country you have to do it privately. I haven't actually, I'm pretty sure of that, because I think the York Clinic were doing it.
I think
Yes, I did it about 20 years ago, Susie, private, when I did my adrenal glands.
Yes, yeah. Did they give you homocysteine levels then, Jean?
Yes, but don't tell me what I'd got.
Right.
I don't know what they,
yeah.
I didn't understand it at the time.
And so it's thinking about as well, you know, the more stressed we are, the more difficult it is, because if those breakdown processes are being used to produce adrenaline, you know, the methylation processes, they're not going to be available for producing things like our glutathione and melatonin. So it's thinking about things over nabbing those processes and what happens then. if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It makes perfect sense in a way.
Yeah. So anything you have to do too much of in the body is going to reduce what you have available for normal function. Mm.
So people with dementia and people with those chronic conditions, would a normal NHS blood test not be looking at a homocysteine?
Not to the best of my knowledge, because they're too busy contemplating the drug route for you,
Yeah.
rather than the nutrient route.
Because Nutrigold actually do a homocysteine mix, don't they?
Yes, they did. They did do. I'm not sure. Yes, and I think they still do. I mean, I'm actually not super convinced about supplementing with things like TMG, and I think they had TMG in their supplement. And I feel it's much more important to get as many things from food as you can.
Yeah.
So if you think about, being able to chomp away on your beetroot, and it's such a nice vegetable anyway.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I love it.
I've got a lovely a lovely beetroot recipe for you coming up with horseradish, and actually, rather naughtily, a bit of smoked fish, but a bit of smoked salmon with fresh salmon, so a bit of a mixture.
That's nice.
And that is a lovely recipe.
Your fish and tomato curry was lovely. I really loved it.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? Yes. Yeah.
So nice.
And so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Sounded easy. Yeah, it's very easy.
Any questions? Any other questions about it?
Can I ask? I feel thoroughly overwhelmed by all that you've said. It all makes perfect sense, but I cannot carry it in my brain at all. So I kind of need to know basically what I need to be eating to create the right environment.
But we're going to look at that next time. I mean, I know Mike grows your lovely beetroot, doesn't he?
Yes, he does, but I can't just live on beetroot.
No, no, but that's a great one. That is a great one to include. But yes, what we'll do is next time we'll look at food and we'll look at supplementation,
right,
and other liver support as well. Because of course, I mean, again, going back to being very simplistic again, if you are supporting liver function now and again with something like your castrol packing, then you are going to be helping the liver make the glutathione.
Right.
Because really, when you think about winter, it is so tough for the body. And that is without all of the stress, all of the switching on of the electric lights, sitting in front of these blessed things, all of the electromagnetic rubbish that we're being subjected to. The list is endless, air pollution, etc. All of that your body has to cope with. But thinking about, your body knows it's dark out there, and it knows it has less light because you're not exposed. We're not getting out into the fresh air so much and just enjoying all the warmth and making the vitamin D. That's down too. And then if you think about the cold, and we're going from these heated houses into the cold, and your poor old body, it's just much more stagnant naturally. That's just how it is. That's the environment that we've got inside at the moment. And to cleanse when you get these natural events and these blasted eclipses, like we had 2 last year, of course, in December, because they shift back every 5.5 months, not every 6 months. So it would have been nicer, really, if they'd both been in November. We've got one in November and one in December. And so that's tougher because it's closer to the winter solstice, which, of course, is another natural event. That,
Just go to bed for the winter, shouldn't we, and stay there?
yeah, we should just hibernate, really. You know, if we lived without all this electric light, we probably would. We'd think, oh, it's time to go to bed now. It's dark, it's cold, I'm going to bed.
I do go to bed early. I go to bed about 9 o'clock, to be honest, because I'm tired.
Lovely. Yeah.
You know.
No, I really ought to take a leaf out of your book. That's fantastic.
I'll tell you one thing though. I've been going swimming twice a week, and that has put me up no end.
Yes.
Yeah, I think getting some movement into your body does help.
It does, yeah. To get the lymph moving at this time of year. So skin brushing every morning help to get the lymph moving. Really does make a difference. Finishing your shower with that hot and cold. Maybe even like every morning I jump in and I turn the cold on and I just stand there until it warms up and spin round in it.
That's a bit
what that does is, if you go straight in cold first thing, is all of your electrical charge, if you like, sort of jumps back on the skin, and you really refresh your own electromagnetic frequency charge. So it's a lovely way of clearing some of all the sort of ions that stick, those positive ions that stick to us from all these electromagnetic frequencies. Bit of a shock, but did I wake you up?
So you do that first then?
Yes, yes,
right.
Cold first, boom.
Well, if
And
we're
then-
not here next time, you know, we'll all have died of shock.
Well, if you don't feel you can bear it on the whole body, blast your feet with it to start with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then work a little up a little bit, do your feet and your calves, and then, you know, bring it in gently.
What kind
There's
of
a lot of people on the island who are going swimming in the sea twice a week.
Oh, there you go. Sorry,
I'm
Karen.
going.
Karen.
I forgot what I said now.
About the cold water.
No, it's gone. It'll come back if it's important.
Mm.
No, I can't remember. Sorry, I can't remember it.
I can't remember. That's okay. It'll come back. Any other questions? If not about homocysteine and glutathione, about anything else for the minute?
And just a very minor point that is only relevant to me because of my the things I'm taking that you'd suggested. So I'm taking that one that Shelley just mentioned,
Yes,
which I've
the
been
methyl
taking
bees.
for ages now, and the sea buckthorn oil, which is fine, and then that, what is it, the lemon oil or something?
Yes, lemon
Yeah, that to keep in the fridge. Yeah. That actually, I think I'm near the end. That might be my last one because I have 3 of those, I think. I don't have any funny effects with any of these. So do I just keep taking those? Are those okay to kind of take long term?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, that's what I just want to check.
Yeah.
So I just keep, I've still got a cold, but they haven't helped with that.
No,
Well, that was a present from my grandson who's, we had all the kids. I think you did too, didn't you? All the little ones or something. And he had a cold. So he's given me a cold.
Yes. Well, colds are no bad thing. The thing about colds and flus is we don't want to be constantly getting them because it's a sign that the immune system is low.
Yeah.
But to have a good clear out through the mucous membranes, or a good sweat with a flu or whatever, if the body has reached the stage that it needs a flu, then there's no bad thing in it. It's enabling the body to repair from it that's the important thing, so that you don't get it. It should be acute, not chronic. And it's where, you know, with things like CFS, post-viral syndrome, where a flu can become chronic. That is the thing to avoid.
It's
and
definitely a little cold. It's not flu. If it's got flu, people who say they've got flu would not be here talking, would they?
No, that's right.
Back in
No.
bed.
No.
No, it's
Yeah.
but I don't get colds very often. But I was just a bit, and to be fair, he was full of it. Because my daughter actually tested him before he came to make sure he got COVID or anything, because she was worried. But it was just a bad cold. But he's very cuddly, as little boys are.
Yeah.
So it's kind of what comes. So maybe actually my body's not doing too bad because I haven't really got it that badly. So maybe it's helping a bit. Yeah. And then when you were saying before with the stress levels and things, that probably is a bit. How do I know if my stress levels are bad and if that's then counteracting all the good stuff I'm doing because it's having to fight my body with the stress? So I don't know. How do I know if that's kind of improving?
Well, mostly I think people know when they feel stressed because they feel something, whether it's a contraction of the diaphragm, which inhibits their breathing. Yeah, with the shoulders contracted because all the muscles are really tight. You know, most of us will know that there'll be some symptoms of that stress. I mean, just if we whiz round, what would be your thing for stress? What do you notice?
Shoulders, really.
Shoulders tighten up. Yeah.
Shoulders for me, feeling sick and hands shaking.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. 3 there. Yeah. Nausea as well. And trembling.
You see, I think that's when I need food.
Well, it's amazing the impact that stress can have on the blood sugar. Yes, that's true. But also on the nervous system. So the trembling can be on the nervous system.
Feeling cold is another one.
Oh, feeling cold. Yes. Yeah. Any more offers?
I don't actually have this one, but I notice in other people that the temper is shorter.
Yes. Yes. More irritable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Low threshold of irritability.
Yes. And actually, that if you like, that is a sign that homocysteine is high and glutathione is low as well.
Which one is that sign?
Irritability.
Right.
Because that irritability, when you're under stress, you use your B vitamins and your magnesium like the clappers. So your B vitamins then are not available for your nervous system.
Oh,
so you complicated.
It is so complicated.
Yeah. It's all connected though, isn't it? You know, everything you think, oh yeah, it's because
yeah. It actually makes me feel quite stressed.
I'm sorry about that, Karen. Yeah.
I'm thinking I can't.
But you're doing something about it, so
yeah,
but I'm always concerned I might not be doing enough about it. You know, because I still can't get the drinking part right.
The water.
Yeah.
It'll come.
In fact, to be honest, and is it okay to sort of start to change subject now?
Yes, we've got a few minutes. Yeah.
I'm going, Susie.
Oh yes, you've got to go. Yes, thank you, Jean.
And bye.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
No, I was just saying, and I know you won't be pleased with it, but I've had to deliberately reduce the amount that I'm drinking because I just can't stop going to the loo.
Yes, because it's colder.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, it's so antisocial to be going to the toilet like 5 times an hour, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
And I've sort of eased up. I mean, I haven't stopped drinking, but I've just sort of cut down. And it has made a bit of a difference because my life has becoming quite miserable.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere.
Yeah. We'll have a chat about that. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So, it's one of those things where it's very tricky because if you like, it's being able to hold the water in the body in the right place so that it's not going like this.
Yeah.
and it's also about dripping, obviously, and also about supporting the liver so that it isn't using the kidneys as a route of elimination too heavily, or the kidneys aren't being used as a route of elimination too heavily, so because the liver is doing what it should be doing. So this is where things like your castor oil packing can come in very, very useful, because they take the pressure off liver.
Right.
But yes, it takes time, and it's very multifactorial. Yeah. So
I'm glad I've got a very patient husband.
Sorry?
I'm glad I've got a very patient husband, because the number of times I've said, just have to wait, I'll have to go to the loo.
Yeah, and the cold does get to the kidneys and the bladder. There's no doubt about it.
I'll have to go now.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Anne.
Bye. Well, thank
Bye.
you very much.
Bye-bye.
Fine. Thank you.
Susie, how do you learn all that chemistry?
Well, believe you me, when it came to this lot, I did have to revise it.
Oh,
but it's always, you know, I love going over stuff like this again, because you think, oh wow, yes, this is so amazing, because you know, it just kind of tucks at the back, and it's such lovely stuff to share this, because, and particularly at this time of year, because it can make such a difference to getting through the winter in a healthy, energetic way.
It's so involved. How you hold it all in your head, I don't know. I have to just look at the summary things you said, and then I think, okay. And then, as Karen had said, I just want to know, what do I do?
Yes.
So obviously beetroot's brilliant. So whatever else it is that we'll try, and then I'll try and do that. But then I'll look back right to the beginning, and I'll think, oh, there's something you said, and then I've forgotten that. Just going back to the cinnamon, I've got the stick things which I put in my coffee grinder now, but it does clatter like mad, but it's quite tricky to get it to an absolute powder.
Yes.
So I just take the sort of the bits that are okay, and I chuck them in with oats or whatever I'm putting it with, and I pick the big bits out, otherwise I'll be breaking my teeth. So I presume that's kind of just normal, isn't it? I'm thinking, am I right grinding this stuff up? That is what we do, isn't it? All the big woody
that's
stuff.
right. Yeah, just throw it in the grinder. Yeah, because it's really freshly ground then as well.
And I love the smell of it. It's really nice. That's not a difficult thing to do at all. And my nuts, as I think you've been telling me for ages and ages now, I'm much better with them actually ground. So I do that.
Yes.
I just find no, I'm no good with them sort of whole, which is what you said before. And if I think that soaked is just about okay, but ground is my best option. Yeah, and then I put them in everything, and it's fine.
Yes, it does make eating the breakfast less arduous.
Yes,
Less dangerous.
I love breakfast.
I love. The breakfast is lovely.
Yeah,
because
that's one thing.
All the bits and pieces on it.
Yeah, I took it all in. I think this is doing this, this is doing this, and then I actually even like it. So
that's a great, it's a great intention really, because when we're eating the beetroot, we can be intending that it's helping us make the glutathione.
Yeah.
But I'm going to start this week with that lovely beetroot recipe. Probably a beetroot soup, because that's another fantastic way of eating beetroot in the winter. But of course, if you like it raw, then just a little bit sort of grated or chopped onto a salad is lovely too. A nice way of getting it in.
Susie, have you ever heard of the Model Health Show, the podcast they do?
Oh no, I don't think I have.
Well, they're quite interesting, and on mitochondria and
lovely.
Yeah, and a bit of what you've been touching on tonight, and basically that's the thing to do about immune. The key thing is supporting that to get your immunity up.
Because that's what's going to repair your DNA.
Yes, and this it was a sort of alternative approach to dealing with viruses, really, and but they were really going on about ATP, which I vaguely understand. But at some point, would you do something on ATP?
Yeah, of course I will. Yes. Oh, that'll be a nice one.
A very simple way of doing it.
A simple thing. Yes. Yeah.
I know what it's trying to do, but I don't really understand it.
I think what would be lovely to look at is what you need to make ATP, as well as how it's made. But then, okay, well, what helps support that?
I think it was really. That's what you're saying as well here. It's the same thing in a way, but I'll send you the link for this talk. It was really interesting.
Right, thank you. Yeah, I'd love to listen to that. Yeah. There is so much good stuff out there, isn't there, to listen to? It's really amazing. It's really helpful. Because particularly I think at the moment, in terms of immunity, people are really looking at how you can thrive very naturally, and that's wonderful. Yeah. Any other quick last thoughts? Actually, I'm going to have to go because I've got an appointment in 15 minutes.
You go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lovely to
Thank
see you.
Susie.
See you in a couple of
Bye.
weeks.
Bye.
New moon tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.